You are Locked On Clippers Postcast, part of Locked On Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome in. I am Pete Fox. Thank you for watching us on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel and listening on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. I've been covering sports in LA for ESPN Radio and NBC Sports Radio dating back to 2007. Clippers tonight lose. Coming back home after the Grammy roadie going 6-1. They fall to the Pelicans 117-106. This would fall under the category of one of two things. Can't win them all. Or Christina Pink, sideline reporter from Bally Sports Network, jinxed us. Because she goes and finds really cool stats before, during, and after the game. And tonight, the stat she threw out before the game was teams in the NBA this season, after returning home from a 5-game or longer road trip, are 9-14. And it kind of felt like the Clippers had that on the whiteboard before the game. Hey, guys, I know we got home late. They got home at about 3 o'clock from Atlanta. And then, you know, obviously you get home at 3 o'clock. You're not in bed till 5. Maybe you don't fall asleep right away. So yesterday was pretty shot as far as a day of relaxation to get back into things tonight. So by the time they came back home to crypto.com, they were gassed. And it really kind of looked like it early. Although I will say that the pace was slow to start, but it felt like it was a calm slow. Like the Clippers were, they're tired and they had heavy legs, but they were like just kind of, wading into the shallow end. They were slow playing this one. Like, yeah, it's okay. We're good. We got enough scoring here. We'll be fine. Clippers beat the Pelicans back in early January on the 5th, 111-95. That was the night about Paul George hitting 6 threes for 24 points and Zion Williams only playing 19 minutes and scoring 12 points. Brandon Ingram also had an off night in New Orleans there at Smoothie King for the Pels there. He had 12 points in that game. And the Clippers led it by as many as 31 in the fourth. So it was total and utter domination for the Clippers in New Orleans, or Crescent City, as many call it. And the Pelicans look pretty cool tonight with their red Crescent City jerseys on. But yeah, that was all Clippers back on the 5th there, 111-95. Ty Lue commented after that game, said he really felt like the Clippers were locking in on D. He liked what he saw from them defensively. Tonight, maybe not so much. The defense I thought was better at times, especially around the perimeter early in the game. But by the time they got to the second half, it really felt like the Clippers were just kind of phoning it in. I mean, they waved the white flag, I don't know, about halfway through the fourth quarter, and it really was just over and kind of like, whatever, let's not get hurt. Let's just finish this one off. Chalk it up to, we battled. We made it interesting at times. They got back into it. They were down 4-5 in the fourth quarter. So there were plenty of opportunities to go on a run, but they just had too many turnovers in the first quarter, or the first half rather. 11 turnovers for 13 points by the Pelicans in the first half. So you hear that, you see that, and you go, all right, well, and the Pelicans shot like 64% in the first half. So those two things say, all right, the Clippers aren't going to be that careless with the ball throughout the entire game, and the Pelicans can't keep that up, shooting 64%. They shot 53 on the night, and when the turnover game was over and done with for the Clippers, they had 19. So a little bit better in the second half, only 8. Cleaned it up a little bit. It was 55-47 Pelicans at the half, and Kawhi only took 3 shots. So it seemed like, hey, it can't get much worse, right? I mean, the horizon is within sight. We can feel like if we do a few things that are better, and Kawhi's just been on fire of late, right? I mean, every night we come on here after the game on the Postcast, and I'm just glowing, and we can't come up with enough superlatives to talk about for Kawhi Leonard. He just has been doing everything. He shot 50% on the Grammy road trip. He had a 30-point average over the last 6 games. So it was just, fantastic performance for him of late. Tonight, it wasn't terrible. He was 4 of 10. That's not really Kawhi-like. We don't feel like that's what he is normally used to giving us. He had 15 points, 6 of 8 from the line, just 1 3-pointer, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 turnovers, 1 block shot, and 2 steals. So a subpar night for Kawhi Leonard. His plus minus was a minus 11. Zubac's back in the game tonight in 21 minutes. He was perfect, 5 of 5 for 12 points. I had him on my prize picks. I had a 4 selection play going tonight, and it was pretty interesting. Let me go through it here with you real quick. I had Harden just on rebounds and assists. I had Terrence Mann to go above his number, which was only 6.5. Like, Terrence Mann can score 6 in the first quarter. I had Ivica Zubac to go above 8.5. And then I had Zion Williamson to go below 21. Here's how it all turned out. Harden had 13 assists and rebounds. The number again, 13.5. So he missed it by a half. Terrence Mann had 5 points, 2 of which came very late in the game. So he missed it by 1 bucket. Ivica Zubac went above with 12. And he did that pretty early on. And Zion, right on the number. It's like they know something. 21 points for Zion Williamson. So I was unsuccessful with my prize pick selections tonight. But it's still fun. Still good. Still entertaining. All right, we'll hit our first break. Come back and get into the bucket list, which is very heavy on one player. I think you know who it might be if you watched any of this game. All right, it is time to talk about eBay Motors. Tonight's show brought to you in part by eBay Motors. They have teamed up with the Locked On Fantasy Basketball host, Josh Lloyd, to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week, all season long. Whether you're prepping for a daily draft, scouting the waiver wire every week, we're going to provide you players that are guaranteed to fit your fantasy roster. So let's see who Josh has picked out for us this week. eBay's guaranteed fit fantasy picks of the week. He likes Paul Reed. As long as Joel Embiid is out with knee soreness, Reed is going to be an elite fantasy ad. So there you go. Use that, and hopefully it will score you some points. Josh Lloyd from Locked On Fantasy Basketball going to help you with your fantasy championship. And eBay Motors, known as a championship team, is about each player being a perfect fit. Same goes for your vehicle. Personally, I've used eBay Motors a lot. It's when it comes time for me to fix something on the car that's within my realm of fixing, like brakes or taillights, or I had this beater Ford Expedition for a long time. It was kind of my baby because I bought it as a fixer-upper, and over the years I fixed it up, but it was major stuff like a new motor, and I didn't do that. But I was always doing small things, headlights, taillights. I even put a big rack on the top of the car, which I loved and my wife absolutely hated, but I thought it was cool. So eBay Motors has always been very helpful and useful to me. More than anything, they give you the right fit. When you try to find the part to fit your vehicle, they make sure that it's the right part. And more than anything, the biggest deal is that everything is a bargain, considerably cheaper, and it's going to save you money. And you'll know that you have the right part with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You can make sure your ride stays running smoothly. As I said, brake kits, LEDs, headlights, roof racks, bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it, whether it's a necessity or just something to spruce it up a little bit. eBay Motors Guaranteed Fit is guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or you get your money back. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers, eligible items only, exclusions apply. All right, Clippers now fall to 19-5 on their home floor at crypto.com, which is a fantastic record. As you know, coming into this game, after a couple of key losses in the West yesterday, Clippers were in first place by percentage points in the West. That didn't last very long. Now a half game out after the loss, because I don't believe Minnesota played, and I don't think Oklahoma City did either. So this one was, the bright side, the silver lining, the stuff you can take away from this game is they battled. You can't win them all. And this falls under the category for me of not that they were beaten by a better team. Pelicans are not bad. They're 30-21, 15-11 on the road, but they were beaten by a team in a better situation. Pels came in winners of 4 in a row, and the Clippers off of that 7-game roadie, getting home late. They're just gassed, and it was obvious from the get-go. From the jump, you could see they had heavy legs, and that stat that it's not just them, it's a standard typical situation for teams that are on long road trips. When they get back home and get back out there, they're not filled with gas and energy. Tonight the Clippers were running at about a quarter a tank, maybe even closer to E, and the Pelicans have historically, traditionally dominated the Clippers. So it's something that wasn't all that big of a surprise. Ultimately, when you dig into it a little deeper, I thought coming off that win in New Orleans, the way the Clippers dominated them, they maybe figured something out. They potentially came up with a plan to defend Zion. But tonight, Zion had a good night. It wasn't huge, but it was pretty big. And it was all in the second half, which was clutch for them. He showed up when they needed him. He played 35 minutes, went 7 of 16, 7 of 10 from the free throw line for 21 points. He had 10 assists, so a double-double for him. Brandon Ingram, who was also slowed by the Clippers last time they played on January 5th, he played 36 minutes, was 50%, going 7 of 14, but 0 for 4 from beyond the arc. He had 8 rebounds, 6 assists, and 15 points. Valanciunas was 3 for 3 in 11 minutes for 8 points. And CJ McCollum, a big night, leading the way for the Pelicans with 25 points, had 5 threes, and was 10 of 17 from the floor. So the Pelicans win it 117-106. Clippers still continue to be the best offensive team in the league dating back to December 1st. I think now 25-6. So right up there atop the Western Conference, half game back, off for a couple of days, and then they take on Detroit for a matinee at crypto.com. So it'll be around noon on Saturday when they play, and then off on Super Bowl Sunday, back at it against the Lakers, I believe. Oh, no, it's Minnesota again on Monday. So that's going to be a big game. Hopefully they don't phone it in against the Pistons on Saturday. That could be a look past game. And because, Minnesota's coming to town a couple of days later. And again, when we played Detroit a few days back in Detroit, they showed some signs of being fairly decent, much better than their 6-win record would indicate. So I have a feeling that Ty Lue is locked in. He's a good coach, and he's not going to allow the Clippers to look past that one, especially coming off a loss. But tomorrow, being what they call a black day, meaning not much going on as far as practicing other than a treatment. So they are off tomorrow. They'll practice on Thursday. Wait, what's today? Today's Wednesday. So they're off Thursday. They'll practice on Friday and then play on Saturday. One of the other things I like to see, Zoo getting back in there, had some clutch baskets in the third. PG got it rolling a little bit, hit some confident buckets, but ultimately just had nothing going on for him. So he's been in a bit of a funk lately, and I don't know what that's all about. He really hasn't had a breakout game for quite a while. Tonight in 28 minutes was 3 of 15. He was 0 of 8 from beyond the arc. He had 4 assists, just 1 rebound and 2 steals for 7 points. So that's something I think we should keep an eye on, that potentially, he's stepping aside a little bit, giving Kawhi Leonard his space and his room to play the way he's been playing of late. But at the same time, there have been plenty of opportunities of late where both of these guys have gone off. So I'm not terribly worried, but I will say that it's a little unnerving to see Paul George not playing great. So I'm not feeling like it's time to start criticizing him. Like, come on, dude, what's up? But, before the game started, I don't know if they had this plan because they thought this was going to be a groaner of a game. But going into the broadcast, they started a conversation based on something that was happening with the Clippers organization as to who the top 5 Clippers of all time are. The Mount Rushmore +1, if you will. And of course, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are on that list, along with CP3 and Blake Griffin. Bob McAdoo was the fifth one on their list. This conversation obviously is a little bit easier with the Clippers than, say, the Lakers, where you can argue for days and months, if not years, as to who their top 5 of all time are. But I looked at that list and I said, of course, those 4 are pretty easy because they're superstars. They're all still playing. Blake Griffin to a lesser degree. CP3 still in the game, but has never won anything. I've gotten into some conversations, some back and forth with our viewers, that age-old tired argument that the Clippers are never going to win anything because they're the Clippers and they're not the Lakers. I'm just like, that's like that argument about soccer being boring because it's not enough scoring. It's like, come on. It's just such an old argument. Come up with a better way to refute the fact that the Clippers are a title contender this year. You can't just come at me with, they're not going to win because they're the Clippers. That doesn't tell me anything, right? I know they haven't won before, but that doesn't mean they never will. And because they're not the Lakers, right? They'll never be the Lakers. The Clippers will probably never have 17 championships. Not in my lifetime anyway. Maybe after I'm long gone, they might figure something out and roll off 10 in a row. But it seems like a steep hill to climb. That's some uphill sledding right there. So all that being said, that doesn't mean they can't win an NBA title this year. This team knows who they are. They are comfortable in their roles, and they're a confident playing team. After this loss, you can put your finger on the reasons why they lost this game. You don't go, oh, gee, I don't know what's going on with this team, man. They're a mess. No, we know exactly why they lost. They're tired. Okay, good. We got it. They battled. It wasn't like they got blasted. They lost 117-106, and they had it to within 4 or 5 in the fourth quarter. So it's not one of those losses where you're frustrated and just, scratching your head. What is wrong with this team? So the argument that the Clippers won't ever win anything because they're not the Lakers and they are the Clippers is just filled with a bunch of air. It's absolutely weak and flimsy. So when you say that Chris Paul never won a title, and when he was playing with Blake Griffin on the Clippers and those guys were there and they were a good team and they never won a title, that doesn't mean this team can't win a title. And I watched that team. I covered that team. I was around every night for that game, every night when they were at home. And then I paid attention on TV when they were on the road. So I was very familiar with that team. That team is not this team. This team is considerably better, considerably deeper, considerably more dynamic than that team. But when you're talking about the top 5 of all time for the Clippers, you got to throw in Chris Paul and Blake Griffin because they took the team to another level. Bob McAdoo is a Hall of Famer, so you got to throw him in there. I was thinking, what about Elton Brand? He's the 4th leading scorer on the all-time list for the Clippers. Or maybe Randy Smith, who is the number 1 leading scorer for the Clippers of all time. He played for the the Buffalo Braves from 71 to 78. If you're wondering who he is and you're saying, I've never heard of Randy Smith, you're not alone. I never have either. I wasn't a big Boston Braves fan. I keep saying Buffalo Braves fan in the early 70s when I was 3 or 4 years old. But at least you have to mention him. Maybe Baron Davis. I don't know. I liked Baron Davis's game, but not necessarily one of the greatest of all times. I thought he was a heck of a good player, though. Elton Brand for sure. When he's 4th on the all-time Clipper scoring list, without a doubt, and Randy Smith the top. But CP3, PG-13, Kawhi Leonard, Blake Griffin, and Bob McAdoo, that's a pretty solid list right there. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll do the superlatives, which is going to be really hard tonight. And then we'll wrap it up. And again, we'll prep you for the next one, which comes at you on Saturday against the Detroit Pistons with a noon tip at crypto.com. All right, tonight's show also brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. At the start of the new year, every small business scratching their head, asking themselves the same question: what's the one move I can make that'll take my business to the next level and keep us profitable, keep us moving forward, keep us winning? LinkedIn Jobs knows that your success all depends on the team you surround yourself with, just like on the NBA hardwood. That's why LinkedIn Jobs has created tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and free. LinkedIn Jobs isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire And hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy that, in fact, 86% of the small businesses that get qualified candidates within 24 hours are good to go. We have a small business, my wife and I, and we have used LinkedIn Jobs to find people to work at our little pottery studio here in Riverside, California. And, it's very helpful. My wife, on the other hand, has also been recruited from being on LinkedIn Jobs for her real job, if you will. So she's very familiar with LinkedIn Jobs and can't say enough good things about it. Small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number one in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn also knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and it might not have the time or resources to hire people, so they make it a whole lot easier on you. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but it's free. It is 100% free. Post your job for free on linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. You know what I just did that I did a couple of nights ago? I completely zoomed over the bucket list. So we'll do that in lieu of superlatives tonight, since really, it'd all be about James Harden, like the bucket list is. Thank you for joining me here on Locked On Sports LA, the YouTube channel, and listening to us on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. Of course, you can check out Darian every day with the Locked On Clippers podcast. And, he gets into things a little bit deeper than I do. You can make it your first listen because, Locked On is about your team every day. Tonight with the bucket list, James Harden got things going early for them. And I wish I would have picked him in my prize picks for points rather than just assists and rebounds, because he was banging some threes tonight. He had 5 in a row. The first one came at 8:37, is about a 30-footer, and it was straight away after the Pelicans had jumped out to an 11-2 lead. So it kind of gave the Clippers a little bit of a slap in the face, some smelling salts, if you will, and it got them rolling a little bit. And then just about a minute later, he hit another 3. So that would be number 4. I really wanted to make tonight's bucket list all about James Harden. He was going to have all 5, but Amir Coffey hit a big 3, and we'll get to that right after I get to this one. Harden hit his 4th 3 at 3:15 of the second to make it 51-39. Again, these were all kind of counter punching, hanging around. The deficit was fairly large at a few different times during this game. So when Harden was hitting these threes, it was like, good, that's keeping us in there. We're hanging around. We're just kind of slow playing this. We're not getting blown out just yet. Amir Coffey hit a big 3 early in the 4th quarter, which the Clippers absolutely needed. That brought them to within 10, I believe. Then Harden hit another 3 at the 9:50 mark. That brought them to within 4. It was his 5th consecutive. So all 5 of his came in a row. He didn't miss one until after the 5 in a row. So he was 5 of 6. 5 of 6 tonight from beyond the arc. 5 in a row, though. So James Harden with number 5, 4, 3, and number 1 on the bucket list. He played 38 minutes, looked great, 6 of 11, 5 of 6 from beyond the arc, 2 of 3 from the line. He had 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 turnovers, though. That's not what you're looking for, but 19 points all in all. So a great night for James Harden. He would have had all of the superlatives: best dressed, most energetic, whatever we come up with, most likely to succeed, et cetera, et cetera. So they were just hanging around all night. And as I mentioned, one of the things that I take away from this game is that you could put your finger on the reasons why the Clippers lost. They were tired. They had heavy legs. Nobody other than James Harden really had it going. And I think we look at this team and we say, yes, they're deep. They have the big 3 and Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and James Harden. But it's never really about just one guy. I mean, Kawhi Leonard's been going off lately, as I mentioned, averaging 30 or more over his last 6 games, shooting 50% during the 7 games on the Grammy roadie. He's been going off, but it hasn't ever been just Kawhi. Someone else has always stepped up. I mean, Amir Coffey, Westbrook. We haven't even talked about Westbrook at all tonight because he was basically non-existent. He didn't come in to be the spark plug. Usually they throw him in there about the 5-minute mark of the first quarter when things aren't going well. Tonight, they were just like, we'll wait. I think he came in about the 8 or 9 minute mark of the first quarter. He only played 18 minutes, hit a couple of shots, going 2 of 7 for 4 points. Coffee played 21 minutes, 2 of 4 for 8 points. Norman Powell is another one that always seems to have a big night, or at least a substantial night. Tonight, he played 26 minutes, 7 of 14 from the floor, 2 of 7 from beyond the arc for 18 points. So it's never really all about just one guy. There's always somebody else chipping in. And the good thing is, when one of the big guys is having a slow night, you can almost always count on someone like Terrence Mann or Amir Coffey or Norman Powell, Zubats, Tyson Plumlee. One of those 3 guys is going to have a decent night. Tonight it was Plumlee and Zubats. They both had double figures. Zubats with 12. Plumlee finished with 11. So all in all, it was a night where you could have turned it off earlier and not really missed much in the fourth quarter. But the fact of the matter is that they will take tomorrow off. They'll rest up, get treatment if need be. They'll practice on Friday. And then they have a panacea known as the Detroit Pistons coming to crypto.com for a matinee on Saturday. And I think that'll also be nice because they'll have, they'll be out of there by 6 o'clock. I don't know if the Lakers are playing that night as well. They probably are. Generally, that's unless it's a hockey game. Generally, that's why there's a matinee, because they have another game at night, either the hockey or the Lakers as well. So they'll probably want to finish that game as soon as possible so they can get out, spend some time with their family, go out to dinner, what have you. Then they'll have Sunday off to enjoy the Super Bowl, and then a big game on Monday against the Minnesota Timberwolves. So we'll talk to you again on Saturday after the Clippers are all rested up and ready to go against the Detroit Pistons. Again, they lose tonight, falling to the Pelicans 117-106, but are now 34-16, half game out of the lead in the Western Conference, and 19-5 on their home floor. Once again, thanks for joining me here on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel and listening on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. Have a good night. We'll talk on Saturday.